Do you believe in miracles? We got Fizzle in the house. Fizzle, what's good, man? Fizzle, glad to have you here.
Let's go. This the South Harmon Podcast. Glad you here today. Hit that Patreon link if you here to stay. Dynasty best ball, that's my favorite way. 40 chess trade show, let's make a trade today or check a AMA. You know Adam at the ATM. Mike always in the building, he gon' stay with him. They gon' start every show off with their own trade. Fantasy's a big ocean, they made their own wave. Make sure you tapping in Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesday night, Saturday morning, ain't no better way. Hit that notification bell when the news break. Go subscribe right now, don't get the news late. Destination Devy, that's the team. Dynasty football, man, that's my favorite thing. I remember Biggie said it was all a dream. Now people watching on their phones and computer screens. Welcome to the team.
Welcome back in, everybody, to another edition of the Dynasty Trade Show. Thank you so much for joining us. As you can tell, I still haven't kicked this damn cold, pneumonia, whatever the hell this thing is. It's been a week long at this point, but we're going to try again tonight. I'm going to try to kill it with some more Svedka. I think I got the recipe, Adam. Just kill it with vodka. That's how I'm going to do it. But hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for tapping in. How you doing, buddy? You ready to do some more trades?
Absolutely. And you know alcohol kills 99.9% of germs, so we're going to stick with that motto. I'm excited for the trade show. Mike, we're going to start off with one of yours. Before we do that, if you do want your deals featured on this show, patreon.com/South Harmon. $1 a month gets you in the door, have a chance to be on the show. We have some new patrons with some deals to grade today. Also, if you don't want to join the Patreon, just go ahead and hit the like, comment button. Subscribe to the channel. Helps us out tremendously. Other than that, though, Mike, you know what we do. We start off with one of our own. And this time, we're going to start off with Iowa Michael. So let's get into it, Mike. What do you got here? What did you do? What did you do to these people?
All right, so I got Justin Fields in a 24 first. I sent away Garrett Wilson and Anthony Richardson. And Adam, this kind of all started on the Destination Devy draft stream, right? We were talking about when Anthony Richardson went through the conversation. We had all the big shots on there, right? Me, you, Ray, Jay Rich. We had the conversation about ARich. Like, where are we at? Where are we at with him? Where would you take him? And I'm not going to say it was a disagreement. I guess in the technical sense, it's a disagreement, but I understand where Ray's coming from as far as where he ranks Anthony Richardson and the concerns on Justin Fields, right? It's readily apparent outside of him running for 1,200 yards last year and being an absolute unit on the ground. If we just relied on his arm, he would have been a horrible fantasy asset. Absolutely horrible. But
awful, yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that I like about Justin Fields that make me rank him over Anthony Richardson, right? If Anthony Richardson does what Justin Fields did last year, like Anthony Richardson's a smashing success. We've hit it out of the park with this pick. But we've also know that with rookie quarterbacks, sometimes there's the unknown. There's a downside. Maybe he's really bad at football. We don't know. I've actually seen Justin Fields be good, and that's a quarterback that I want to buy into. Now, it is very close. So this is how it all started. We have this debate, and I think it was a little bit, from my perspective, arrogance, thinking like, man, I think most people are going to be on the Justin Fields over ARich side, personally. But I could be wrong. So it went by for a couple months, right? We're a month removed from the draft, basically. So I went through all my leagues. Every league I had Anthony Richardson in, and Justin Fields was available for trade. Wasn't already on my team. I sent out the offer straight up, and that's how this one started. And a couple counters back and forth. The initial one got declined, and then I got this one out of the blue, and it's Garrett. He added the Garrett Wilson side. And for those of you watching, if we were just to grade this trade in a vacuum, Adam, I could honestly say this is a hell of a loss, right? There's no way. If ARich and Fields are very close, there's no way I'm just kicking a random first for Garrett Wilson. Get the hell out of here, regardless of settings. 12-team superflex, 2 tight end, start 12 lineup. That's a horrible trade in just about any format, in my opinion.
Right, because Garrett Wilson is a top 5, 6, 7 dynasty wide receiver, period. So
here's the kicker, though. Like, this is what we talk about knowing your league, and you guys are going to know your leagues better than anybody else when you make these deals or submit them, and when we talk about them. We try to do a broad stroke on it with the information we have, and the information I'm telling you is Anthony Richardson's the only quarterback on this guy's roster in a 12-team Superflex league. And it isn't like he's just sitting there running around with multiple firsts. That was the only first he had, and now I have it.
And it's got his name on it to let everyone know it's his pick. And what did he finish last year?
He finished third to last, right? He was the 103. And only 2 teams that finished worse to them, me. That's why I have Anthony Richardson on my team and one other team. But both of those teams have improved. I don't know if I could say that he's improved at all because he didn't even have his pick last year, right? He had the third overall pick. It wasn't like he got a Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or JSN or Gibbs or anybody like that. He had traded his pick away. So this is the only thing he's added to his team since the end of last season is Garrett Wilson now and Anthony Richardson, but it cost him Justin Fields and his 24 first. So
yeah. Okay. So in lineup start 12, right? So you're telling me this team was a bottom 3 team. What's also interesting about that, let me just read the trade out again. Justin Fields and a 24 first from CK111 being sent away, and then Garrett Wilson and ARich are going to that owner. Mike's getting Justin Fields in the 24 first. I think the interesting part for me here, Mike, is this. Like, if you get Garrett Wilson and Anthony Richardson, like, that should help your team win in theory. But if you tell me ARich is your only quarterback in Superflex, that scares me a little bit. Now, Garrett Wilson in start 12 lineup probably fixes some things, but I don't know if he's going to fix everything. I mean, I think Anthony Richardson starts from day one, but that's not even a guarantee. Like, he may not even have a starter week 1 on his team. The other thing that you mentioned that I think is big, you still have your own pick, correct? 24?
This gives me 3 24 first, and all 3 of them are on teams that finished 1, 2, and 3 as far as draft order goes last year.
And that's an even bigger kicker because, one, if your team's not ready to go, like, you're fine to sit there and have his top 3 pick. And then the fact that you actually have both of the other ones that are very likely early. Like, if you end up having the top 3 picks in 24 next year, and I know we do – you guys do this every year. 24 is going to be so great. 23 is going to be so great. And then we get there and trade out of 107 and later. Well, here's the thing. The top 3 picks in 24, no matter if there's a couple guys that come in and out of what we think that is, they're going to be great players there. It's just the way it is. So if you have all the leverage with those top 3 picks, I like this deal for you there. I will say, like, trading away Garrett Wilson for a 24 first, even though it's early, is tough. But in the process of what you're doing, I like it as a whole. I'll say this, man. If I could buy Anthony Richardson and Garrett Wilson for Fields and a 24 first random, you've already mentioned, I would do that.
Yes.
The problem is, if I don't have another quarterback in Superflex, I'm not sending away my 24 first. Like, if it was ARich and I had Lamar, I might even do this, right? And just figure out some crusty third quarterback later, take a shot on, even if it is early, I'm getting a stud in Garrett Wilson. I'm still in the conversation at QB. But in start 12, man, if you don't have another quarterback, it's just there's almost no way you compete. It's just almost impossible. So I want your side here. On a generic vacuum, I want the other side. So I think that's another thing why in the trades, I know the comments are saying get through them quicker. We want to at least talk the context of the league is what we have so that it's not just a on-the-surface trade. We'll try to get through some of them a little quicker, but we want to at least talk. We want to at least talk all the details, Mike.
The last point, too, and I've seen the comments, too, but it's not in my contract. I'm contractually obliged to talk my ass off up here. But I will say this, Adam. I'm using your line now, but this is one of those, too, like, I had to ask your opinion on it, too. Like, I didn't have the arrogance thinking that I know everything or this was such a smash, right? I sent you all the details. Hey, this is what it'd give me. This is what this dude's team looks like. Like, you take a look at it. I'm not going to preface it. And what was the first thing you said? Jesus, this team's god.
This team's bad, right? 100%. I saw that, and I was honestly shocked how bad it was in that you have a pending trade with his 24 first in it. That was
right.
Now, I get why it's hard to press the button on, but I'm thinking, man, like, I love Garrett Wilson. You know I love Garrett Wilson.
Yes.
But in the process of what's happening here, I'll take the risk here. So
And another thing out there for the leagues, just to add to it, is this is also one of those things where I've also come accustomed, and I think we've talked about it here, is in some leagues, especially random leagues, if I'm not the commissioner or I don't have a real good feel about it, I'm not as inclined to just keep kicking the can down the road. You know what I mean? At some point, I really want to start going for it and win money. But this is the league I run. This is the league I commish. I know that it's going to be there in 24. I know it's going to be there in 25. I know it's going to be there in 26. So if I keep kicking the can down the road a little bit, I don't have to worry about perennially rebuilding and never being able to actually compete for a title when the league actually folds and dies. So another thing to keep in mind when you look at trades like this in your dynasty process.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the last piece is you're probably not going to be ready to compete sending away a piece like Garrett Wilson for a first. But if on the off chance, because I saw your team, it's not nearly as bad as his was in dynasty value. If on the off chance you're flirting with the playoffs, I mean, you have D chips to go buy whatever bank. You're at whatever bank. You got the whole thing. You got the bankroll to go buy whatever you want. So I liked it for you, but I will say that on the surface, getting Garrett Wilson and ARich is not some bad haul. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. All right, Mike. Here, let's get from a big spicy one to a nice crusty one here. All right. So we got Portentry. Our guy, shithead, is getting Melvin Gordon, a 25 third, and another 25 third, and he's sending away Chase Brown. 12-team, Superflex, tiered PPR, lineup start 10, so that's, half point for the running backs. It's a full point for the receivers, and it's 1.5 tight end premium. So, Mike, what do you think here? Is getting off of Chase Brown for Melvin Gordon in 2/3, although they're way out in 25, is this a smart play, or do you think you'd rather have the Chase Brown side here?
I'd rather have the 2 25/3. I'll just kick the one down the road 2 more times. The Melvin Gordon thing factors in nothing. That's a 0. That's a dude. You wanted to throw him in, cool. I'm probably going to cut him though. He's worth more as an empty roster space than he actually is as a player. So
yeah,
but I'll take the 2 picks, even though they're in 25 thirds. You've already multiplied it. As long as what I just talked about, you have a good feeling that the league's going to be there. But it's a good process play just to multiply them. I mean, Chase Brown could be fantastic, but we get too caught up in the names. In reality, now you just have 2 future thirds that are liquid, right? The worst part about having third-round picks is actually having to make them in your rookie drafts, because then they're not liquid anymore. And what's he keep? He keeps the liquidity. He turns the hard asset into 2 things that are double, and now he has the liquidity again in season to go buy a Melvin Gordon type if he ends up doing anything, and he can start him for a week. So I like the 2/3 personally.
Yeah, I would say this. I think, if these are 24 thirds, this is 100%, 1,000% smash. The reason the 25 is a little closer, I still think I want that side, is because it's more about what the other side, I think, sometimes is not. And right now, in the middle of, the summer's getting ready to start, right? We're at the end of May. This period here is really lullish because your draft's probably over and people are just kind of getting into hype. So what tends to happen is these way down the list names, like Chase Brown, right? This is a day 3 guy, pretty late day 3 guy. Now, if Mixon's gone, maybe there's a scenario here where he, is thrusted into a bigger role. But
right.
We saw Travian Williams. What did he do? I mean,
for the last how many years? It feels like he's been around doing nothing for 10 years at this point, don't it?
Right, and it's just there's been these names, and if you've played long enough, you start to kind of Chris Evans, right?
The next one.
And it's not even just, that's the Cincinnati running backs I'm giving you, right? How many names at this time of the year, if you go back and look year after year, Semi Fehoko, I know it's not a running back, but there are so many guys that people were excited for.
Darwin Thompson.
Right, Darwin Thompson. How could you forget, right? Chase Brown, if he hits, okay, maybe you don't look the greatest here. But there's a reality that Chase Brown types, this type of a draft pick and later, although, yeah, you got a running back here in a lineup league, which you want to have as many of them as you can, he ends up being a just complete 0 for you, and you hold and you get nothing back. The 25 thirds, I think what's interesting is because they're 2 years out, I don't know how much they're going to be able to buy it in season, and if this is a league where someone will take 2/3 and 25 next year. But either way, they'll eventually come to fruition. So I'm in a process. I'm going to probably get off of Chase Brown for multiple shots at liquidity that I can try to sell for something else that I want later. I'm with you. Melvin Gordon means nothing to me in this deal. But as a process, I'll do that. And the reason is I can sell these picks later for what I want to go buy. Chase Brown right now, he may be what's hard to believe for people at a peak value in his dynasty career. It's very possible that's the way it is. I like the prospect too, by the way, but like we have to keep it honest, right?
This could be the peak of Chase Brown, and it's May 30th.
It's tough to say, but there you go. Anyway, that's why I would sell. Let us know if you think we're crazy in the comments. All right, Mello Nello, Mike. Mello's starting to get active in these leagues. I'm seeing him weekly, so I want to put him in here. Mike, this one here, 12-team Superflex lineup, start 10. Okay, so our guy Mello's receiving the 103 and Alvin Kamara. He's sending away Hollywood Brown, the 106 and the 206. There are no players attached to this, but we know what the players kind of in these ranges are going. So what side do you want? Talk us through this trade for you.
Oh, Mello killed this one. You think this only happens because of the DeAndre Hopkins thing? Right now, Hollywood Brown's got a little bit more juice, carries a little bit more weight. He's never been a guy. I mean, I remember this time last year where we're arguing with patrons about Hollywood Brown, and he was fine at him. He was okay. He had some moments. I'm just not the biggest Hollywood guy. And if he's the number one receiver for a Colt McCoy-led offense that's tanking, or a Clayton Tune-led offense, like, it's still just not that sexy. I really don't care. So Brown, Kamara, you can call it a wash. I favor Kamara there. I'm willing to take the bet on Kamara, even if he does get suspended for 4, 5, 6 games. But I get it if you're on the Hollywood Brown. The other part is the easy one. If I can move up and get a quarterback, or get into that quarterback range, because you're probably not getting one at 106 in a lot of leagues. Like, you have to really strike it big, right? Somebody's got to take Gibbs and JSN before you get the last choice at the quarterback. I kind of want the second choice at the quarterback, and I'm willing to pay the 206 all day to move up those 3 spots to make sure that I can get it in a super flex league. So I think Mello killed this one. I love it.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think if I think about the process for each side, I could see what Blair 1036 is trying to do. For me, the way I play, I do want the Mello side. But the reason I say that I could see it closer for the other side is this, right? So I think Kamara right now is not someone I'm actually wanting to sell. But a lot of people really are worried about this, his suspension coming and his play starting to plummet further and further down. So if you're telling me that you want to do that, and you get a receiver like Hollywood, who I don't think is all that great, but last year with Hopkins out of the lineup, he was pretty good. I'm not going to say he was elite, but he was in the range that mattered. So I think people are going to project that. And then if you didn't actually need the quarterback, right, you're getting 106 is going to guarantee you JSN or Gibbs or a QB at that spot, right? And then the 206 you could probably use for a running back in that range. So I understand what's happening over there, but for me, that's not. I don't actually want to play that way. Even if I had the quarterback, I'd rather have, right? Like if I could dispose of a quarterback, Mike, and I didn't need to take one here, and that's the reason you're taking the 106 side, I still would rather almost leverage up to go get ARich if he falls there, or the second quarterback, whether that's Bryce or CJ, like what your pick is. For me, I'd rather have Bryce and Kamara, or ARich and Kamara, as opposed to Hollywood Brown, JSN, and if you're lucky, Kendre Miller, but probably more like Michael Mayer or something. So, yeah. Like for me in a process play, I want the Kamara side because of how much I think I can trade away the 103 player. But if you were gonna tear down, I understand why you might take that side on the other one. If you went ahead and used 206 for a running back, got JSN, got Hollywood, like I could see why you do that. For me though, I'd rather have the Kamara side.
I mean, if we take it back to our old school roots, Kamara, he's a 9th round startup pick in Superflex leagues. Hollywood's an 8th rounder. Your 103 is going off the board.
3rd round?
End of the 2nd.
Oh, it's come up. It's come up.
Yep, it's come up. Bryce Young rising up. Your 106, so your JSN, your Gibbs, I mean, you're talking about a 4th rounder there. So you moved up a couple rounds.
2 rounds.
Right, and it cost you a 206.
Which that 206 probably going in the 11th, 12th, right? Something in that range.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Man, might even be a little bit later because the depth of this class is all over the place. So
True.
There's not a real good consensus. But if we just keep it at that, you just talk about those 4 pieces. If I was in a startup, right, you didn't know players, you didn't know picks or nothing like that, but you're like, hey, I'll give you my, I'll give you my 8th, I'll give you my 4th rounder. You give me your 2nd, and you give me your 9th rounder startup pick. The guy's like, oh, I need a future 2nd from you. like a second-round rookie pick. All right, done.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much more important for me to move up in those earlier rounds than it is to move up in the later rounds. So
I'm with you.
Pretty easy deal. Like, most people tell you to get bent. But I did figure those two were probably close together. Now, this doesn't factor in all the rise we probably will see for Hollywood, now that it's really official with the DeAndre Hopkins
Him being
release.
gone.
So
yep.
he could move up another round, man. He could be in the 7th round the next time we are doing a trade show. Who the hell knows? But I do like Melo's side here, and it's just because of the quarterback leverage, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want the 103 side. I could see someone arguing it if they had, with the team that's built and they think they can avoid the quarterback class here. But for me, I want the Kamara side of this deal, Melo side. All right, 7 Goatrings always has to make an appearance. Mike, let me hear your thoughts here. All right. So speaking of Kamara, Alvin Kamara is going to Big Black Scooby, as is Greg Dulcich and Chase Claypool. 7 Goatrings in return is receiving the Chicago backfield, the tandem, I guess you could call them, if that, of Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert, as well as Jaden Reed. We got a 12-team, 2-quarterback, PPR, start 11, no tight end premium. That applies to the Dulcich part of this trade here, Mike. So What are your thoughts here? Kamara, Dulcich, no tight end premium, and Claypool, or Herbert, Johnson, Jaden Reed?
So let me say this, and let's see if the comments hate me for this one, but I really don't give a shit about Greg Dulcich in non-tight end premium leagues. I just really don't.
I'm 100%
start 11, 9 tight end premium. He's just kind of in that range of tight ends where, like, I just want like 4, 5, 6 of these guys, and I'll try to figure out who the hell is actually good at football. But it's not an asset that I really want on my roster. You know what I mean? Like, if I have him on my roster, I'm not selling them cheap, but I'm not actively requiring them anywhere. Like, right. I don't take them in deals. I don't want those kind of tight ends. Like, I'm good, man. Those are just non-difference makers. They really don't matter.
Right.
This one comes down to me, like, how you feel about Alvin Kamara. Because I can honestly see, even though I just said that about Dulcich, I can see a side where if I'm Big Black Scooby, like, I probably don't want the Claypool and the Dulcich stuff added on. Like, they just kind of convolutes the deal. But
yep.
If I want to make a bet as a contender, like, Alvin Kamara has one of those, what his price is now. We just talked about him. What his price is now, like, that's a big bet to make that could pay off in a massive way.
Sure.
Or it could just be an absolute shit show and you're left with nothing. But, I mean, I'm talking about Jaden Reed and Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert. All right, man, what do we project the ceilings for some of these guys? Like, are they that good? Like, the ceiling for Alvin Kamara, if you're right on that bet, is very, very, very high. Like, that's you have the possibility of league-winning upside with the bet you make on Kamara. I wouldn't say I got the possibility of upside with the Jaden Reed, Khalil Herbert, and Roschon. Now, however, I just sat here and I tried to lay out the case. If you don't feel good about Alvin Kamara, like, you don't like the negatives, what are you really getting for him that's going to matter? And I can argue here that 7 Goatrings got back 3 pieces, and he can figure out if any of them are any good or they accrue value, or if Khalil Herbert's massive rise that he had comes up, or if all the Roschon Johnson truthers like me out there who love the guy to death, if he has a massive rise in season, or if Jaden Reed is actually a really good wide receiver for Green Bay and unseats Romeo Doubs and, kind of puts Christian Watson in his place, and him and Jordan Love have a really good connection. You never know. So I can see both sides of the trade. I can't really pick one, man. I think I want to make the bet with Alvin Kamara, the Alvin Kamara side, and I want to shoot for the upside on it, but I just don't like the Dulcich and like Claypool thing. Like, you added a bunch of junk to me that I really don't care about. So in that sense, 7 Goatrings did what he did by just throwing some stuff that really don't matter in to get the deal over the finish line, I guess.
Yeah, I think, Mike, when I look at this deal, right, especially like the Claypool and the Dulcich thing for me, like Claypool, I know for facts. Like, I am not projecting him ever to be a starter in this format. I know Chicago invested in him, but they also invested in DJ Moore, and It's not really, even if it's an upgraded offense as far as passing volume, it's not going to be high volume. And Claypool's not it for me. Dulcich, for the reasons of non-tight end premium, like, he's already a guy, Mike, if I'm being honest, even in tight end premium leagues, I want to move. Like, I want to move him everywhere. But the reality is, in those leagues, there is some bigger value, right? In this league, not only do I want to move him, I'm not going to say I don't care, but you've already kind of laid it out. Like, it's just not a piece that I want a bunch of value into. I don't care. I don't even want to have too many of those type of guys to make decisions with. Like, I'd rather trade up for one or just have like two, and I'm just kind of assuming a loss there, because picking the Dolchich first 3 or 4 of those guys in that range every week, you're not going to get it right. Sorry, you're just not going to get it right.
How many questions did we get last year on the trade show or the Start Sit show on Destination Devy about Dolchich?
Oh,
it was every week for like 9 weeks, man. He never reached that range where everybody was just starting him every single week with confidence.
That was the best part, is he's tight end like 12 and 11 on Keep Trade Cut, but every week we're still, should we start Dolchich?
Yeah.
If he's a tight end 1 and he's a rookie, yes, you should start him, but no one felt confidently enough about that. That's why it's not real. Anyway, the other side I'll say is this. Like, Roschon and Herbert, I think the interesting part here is it's not something I typically like to do, but you do have, however that backfield shakes out, you have the opportunities. Now, there's a case where they just split work and they kind of both don't really do much, right? That's your worst case scenario. But if one becomes the lead back, now when you have a lead back on your team again, and obviously you still could have had Kamara, but when you have a lead back in Chicago and a run-first offense, like, that asset could be exciting, because both of these guys, like, we already saw Herbert have truthers. Roschon seemingly has truthers. He's going ahead of Tank Bigsby and a lot of people in this draft. Jaden Reed, I think, is the piece here that makes it interesting, because in a start 11, Mike, it's just close enough to where if Reed has some weeks, you might actually put him in, especially when buys are coming around. And that's why I think I want the 3 pieces here, because I could probably trade all of them at parts. The bottom part for me, the problem is, like, Kamara is the best piece in the deal, but I'm also, if he does get suspended and he's getting older, like, I think I'll get off of the Kamara show for these 3 pieces. But I will admit, it doesn't feel like a sexy trade at all. No,
it's pretty gross. It's real junky, right? We're taking that old school too. Real junky.
It is junky. And Goatrings, I don't know what happened. The savage of Goatrings, I think, is kind of left. He's pulled some crazy ones lately. But speaking of savage, Mike, the reason I use that term is because this is savage, and this was, I guess, sent to him. So Ortiz the God, newer patron, OTG over there, he's receiving Deshaun Watson and a 24 5th for CJ Stroud and a 24 3rd. He said you could have kept the 5th. I would have happily taken it without it. kind of just flexing in our Discord when he said that. I'm like, this guy, that's some shit Mike would say. Like, you could have kept your 5th and I still would have taken the deal. Well, no shit, Sherlock. But there's not much to put here. He didn't put settings. I know it's 12-team Superflex. I don't think settings matter here. I'm just going to put the trade on the show so we can kind of bask in how sometimes you just get a deal sent to you can't say no to. Yeah. This isn't close, is it?
No, it is not close at all. And this is, something we talked about on an AMA. It feels like forever ago, but with the Deshaun Watson thing, you and I both like Deshaun Watson. And I think one of the things is there are some people who play this game that have a hard time separating fantasy and like what actually happens in reality. You know what I mean? Like, I play this game for fun. I play it for points. I play it for this. I don't do it for political reasons. I don't do it to, listen, man, in all reality, Deshaun Watson, the human being, probably a piece of shit, man. Like, did some shady stuff. But do I still want him on my fantasy team? Yeah, because he scores points, and I think he's a good quarterback, right? I don't want to be best friends with him. But on my fantasy team, I like him. But Adam, I think we talked about it. There's people who can't separate it, and it sticks with them forever. And it goes to how they value players. It goes to how they make trades where they're like, I've always hated Deshaun Watson. I don't like him. I don't want him off my team. And when the opportunity comes, they go and get a player that they really do like. Or even if it's not involving a player like Deshaun Watson, Adam, sometimes it's just about going and getting guys that you're fans of. And I know there's some people out there who promote that, right? Just go get guys you like. Right? Just draft good players. Just do this, right? Just like they make it sound so easy, and the reality of Dynasty really ain't that easy all the time. But this may be one of those things, man. Somebody's got a value where they're like, I don't like Deshaun Watson. I think CJ Stroud's just as good. I'll add the 5th just to, whatever. I don't know why you add the 5th, but I like it. So, here you go.
If you're gonna give me a 5th, I'm not gonna say no to a 5th. I'll take a 5th. I'll take Fab. It's something. Here's what I think is actually pretty interesting about this deal, though. I'm gonna talk less about off the field and more on the field, right? So Deshaun Watson, had a big lapse in his play due to all the off-the-field stuff. So he didn't play all 2 seasons ago, the 2021 year. 2022 year, you're talking he played, the last 6 games of the season, and it was kind of in disarray. The weather's rough. He hasn't played in a while. You saw some moments that were good. You saw a couple moments that were the great Watson, but you saw a lot of rough moments. And I think the recency bias of seeing all that, plus the fact that his off the field is making Watson down in value. So I kind of get it. But I will say this, Mike. It's interesting it's C.J. Stroud going to Houston because when I think about Watson, right, when he was the full-time starter, he was quarterback 5 or better for 3 years in a row with really only Nuke or, minimal weapons. You did have some nice years out of Fuller. I shouldn't even say years. Games when he was healthy, right? Because he was almost never always healthy.
Get some nice half a seasons.
Yeah, but now think about C.J. Stroud for a second going to the same situation, right? But this situation's worse. They've tore everything down. They don't have much in weapons.
Wide receiver 1, Nico Collins, baby. Let's go.
This is a guy that's always played with great weapons and has none of them. To me, it's a weird bet. Because I think there's going to be a couple years at least, honestly, before you get Stroud to be meaningful for a team that's contending. I don't know. Maybe the team's rebuilding, but I'm not going to try to give logic or reasons why you would do this because I would never do it. It's just funny thinking about the old situation that he was in and how it was worse, and Watson basically carried that whole team when they were awful, and he got quarterback 5. I don't see that in the cards for C.J. Stroud for the next couple years, and maybe ever. I don't know if C.J. Stroud's ever going to be a top 5 quarterback in a fantasy football season, right?
For me, it was a lot more attainable before they traded up then to get Will Anderson and leverage their 24 picks as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know Will Anderson's a stud. Right, but it's besides the point. I'm looking at it going, well, he doesn't have any weapons now. But if they're bad next year, they could reunite him with his teammate, Marvin Harrison Jr., and all of a sudden you're like, oh, man, I really want a piece of this Texans offense now, and you'd be a lot more excited. Instead, we're going, we'll see what kind of free agent receiver they can bring in or who they can get on a deal like Chase Claypool for a second.
Right, they'll end up trying to buy a Claypool type or maybe find a way to get a DJ Moore type if they can, or Elijah Moore. These are the type of guys you get in that range. Maybe they get a second-round pick next year that's falls or something, but they're not going to be surrounding him with some stud or multiple studs. Watson right now does have Cooper. There's talks today. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition of them possibly getting Nuke, him going to play there. It may or may not happen, but regardless, you got Cooper, you got Njoku, you got Elijah Moore. Not the greatest cast of weapons, but it's a lot better than what Houston has going on, and we've seen it from Watson before. So it's just it just doesn't.
You look around the league, that's probably upper half. Not gonna lie, that's at least upper half. There's some bad situations out there, some real bad ones.
And I'll tell you what's bottom half is what Houston has going on in their room of tight ends and wide receivers. So anyway, that's just another layer of why there's just no way I would take the other side. So sometimes you just get layups sent to you, man, and you got to just hit the button.
What the hell is with the Alvin Kamara, man? We got the Alvin Kamara show.
I don't think I can put him on the thumbnail because it just doesn't drive enough force. But man, apparently people want nothing to do with him, or they're getting him super cheap. Here it is, right? The Kamara panic's getting so wild. 12-team Superflex PPR lineup start 10, Mike. All right, we've had our Noah Fant love, me for my reasons of his athleticism, you because Iowa and athleticism. KJ Osborne just had a Jordan Addison drafted to his situation.
Yikes.
And we can talk about liquidity till we're blue in the face, but it's a 24th third for Alvin Kamara. So, Mike, I don't know how to say this other than nothing on that other side means a damn thing compared to what Kamara could mean if he's playing football. So, I just can't envision a world where I'm Nick Tran and saying, you know what, I'm going to get off of Kamara, but I'm not going to get any liquidity. I'm not going to get any younger running backs back. I'm going to take Fant, even if it is tight end premium, KJ Osborne in the third. Just no thank you.
Yeah, a lot of no. I'm good, man. I'll keep Kamara for that. I'm good. You give me a second. Right? Can I get a second and a third? Can I get a second and a third?
Let me ask you if it was what if it's Noah Fant
in a second?
What if it's Osborne replaced by 205? So it's Noah Fant 205 and a 24th third.
Much better. 1,000%.
What if it's 210?
Adam, this is a damn lineup league. I don't want KJ Osborne and anything outside of best ball. And that was last year when he was the number 2 wide receiver. He did some nice things in best ball as the number 2 wide receiver. And I'm sure in lineup, maybe if you were savvy enough, you could have started him a few weeks and he actually would have been beneficial. It wasn't that he was bad. But they just spent a good draft pick, a first-round draft pick on a rookie receiver, right, to replace him. And this is a lineup league, Adam. Like, I still have interest in KJ Osborne in a best ball league because it's Minnesota, and I think they'll probably throw, especially with no Dalvin Cook. I just don't trust them running with Ty Chandler or Alexander Madison or Dwayne McBride or whoever the hell's back there at the running back. Like, they're going to throw the football because they have Justin Jefferson, they have Addison. So KJ Osborne will probably have some weeks in best ball, but I don't know when the hell they're coming in lineup. I'm good, man. This is beyond the definition of roster clogger. You'd be off my team in a heartbeat. So you replace him with the 205. I don't even know who the hell the 205 would be, but I would definitely take that over KJ Osborne right now.
Yeah, in a flash. There's not much analysis you're going to get from me on this. It's just not banking on a resurgence from Fant seems foolish at this point. Not saying I don't want him, but I'm not in the relation of Alvin Kamara.
That looking good, man.
A third and Osborne don't even come close to making up the difference. I can't keep talking about this deal, Mike. We're going to another deal. All right. This is a big, juicy one, man. So Blitzing Buzzard is receiving Jahan Dotson, Garrett Wilson, and the 101. Mike, talk about a whopper off the rip. The 101 and Garrett Wilson in the same deal. He's sending away to NBC Alter Ego. I believe he's in a Heisman member, too. Getting Jamar Chase, the 104, and Dalvin Cook. So here's what I can tell you also about the settings. It's a 14-team Superflex tight end premium lineup, start 11. And I do know that Blitzing Buzzard at the 101, because it is a 14-team league, took Anthony Richardson. I don't know who the 104 became, but if you know that's the fact, Bijan's going to be gone. So you're looking at, a Gibbs maybe or one of your quarterbacks picks. So talk to me, Mike. Is Anthony Richardson, right, the shot at him in a 14-team league, worth going from Chase to Garrett Wilson and then the swapping of Dalvin Cook and Jahan Dotson?
Well, for me, I'll start at Dotson or Cook in a 14-team league. I know Dalvin Cook is still good, and you can buy running backs, but everybody hates running backs, man. I could buy Dalvin Cook a billion times over, or Dalvin Cook types, or, if I don't like Dalvin Cook, there's Aaron Jones. We've done 8 billion deals on Alvin Kamara. Doesn't really matter. As crazy as it sounds, man, I definitely would rather have Jahan Dotson over that type.
Yep.
Me personally, I'll take the receiver. Jahan Dotson did some nice things. He wasn't special, but he's a threshold receiver, so I will take him over it. Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase for a reason, but Garrett Wilson is on that trajectory pretty heavily. Not to the level of Jamar Chase. I'm not trying to be hot takey, but we have seen, Adam, you love Garrett Wilson, and we have seen since the rumors started of Aaron Rodgers going to New York just how much his dynasty value has risen. Now, I still haven't moved him up myself, but there's a lot of people where he is knocking on that door of top 5 pretty close if he ain't already there. So it's not as big as a gap as it once was, but it's still Jamar Chase. For me, in a 14-team Superflex league, there is a ton of conversation about whether it be Bijan or ARich. I know I argue till I'm blue in the face in a 12-team league. It's still Bijan, but ARich, yes, in a 14-team league, there's a big difference between what we were just talking about with your choice of Stroud or Young, who both have weapons issues, both have offensive issues, both also have draft capital issues in the future. I would rather just have AR than one of those quarterbacks in a 14. You're still going to take the quarterbacks at that spot, right? I'm still taking whatever quarterback's available at the 104. I just much rather have my choice of Anthony Richardson than one of those two guys, to be honest. And I think it's a big deal. I would take Blitzing Buzzard side here. I will take the tear down, I guess, the tear down from Chase to Garrett Wilson, because I don't think it's as bad as it once was anymore. People have starting to cream themselves over Garrett Wilson, so
yeah,
it's a lot closer than it ever has been. So I don't feel too bad about that anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think here, man, the fact that it's 14 team changes everything, because if you told me it's 12 team here, and then 101, whether it's ARich or Bijan, the difference in Chase from Wilson there, Mike, it might actually make me pause, and I might take the Jamar Chase side. But when it's 14 team, and we're talking about an asset like Anthony Richardson, we know in 14 team, first and foremost, quarterbacks drive Superflex, period. Right? That's the way it is. 14 team, they really drive it because of scarcity. So if you can land a guy like Anthony Richardson, and you could trade him right now for Justin Fields, right? Like you can trade him for elite type quarterback assets. As much as I like Chase, and I'll admit I'm in on Chase. I'm very high on Chase now. I'll take the down tier and stay with a Garrett Wilson type here, and have my shot at having Anthony Richardson, who I think right now also, even if you're not the biggest ARich believer, can trade for something massive. In start 11 with 14 teams, like you're talking more like in a 12-team league, like a start 12 league or a start 13. And
yes,
Jahan Dotson's actually a piece. As much as there's concerns with him, some of the metrics you may have heard on the latest Destination Dynasty. But when you get to this type of level of starters, Jahan Dotson's still someone I want to have, and even still has enough name cachet and ADP to trade away to still get something legit, where Dalvin Cook, you're just kind of going to have to hold and hope with him. So that's the biggest differences in the trades here that make me want to have Blitzing Buzzard side personally. Not saying it's a bad haul on the bottom side. I'm not saying that at all. Jamar Chase is really dope, but I want to pick the top side here.
I'm with you. You get an elite receiver and you still get a quarterback. It's not like that's a bad side at all. But I got to pick one. It's the top side for me, and I don't think it's too close either. I'd comfortably want the top.
Yep, I'm with you. Last trade here, Mike. New patron. So we got a 12-team Superflex PPR lineup. This happened during the rookie draft. So he has the 201, the 211, the 311, the 411, right? And Wan'Dale Robinson that he's sending away here for Miles Sanders and Deontay Johnson, as well as a 25 third. The 25 third, you can probably, whatever. We talked about it. Here's the thing, though, Mike. So now you got to ask yourself, 201 or Miles Sanders on a contending team. He was second last year, looking to make a push again. And then Deontay Johnson, really for me, Mike, is versus the 211 straight up. Like Wan'Dale in this league, I'm ready to get off of. 311, 411. Not saying they're nothing, but like I'd probably in a start 9 comfortably move off of Wan'Dale, 311, 411 to go get whatever pieces I need. So for me, Mike, the bulk of the deal, because there's a late third in 23 versus a 25 third, and the force whatever, Wan'Dale's kind of whatever. The bulk of the deal for me is 201 versus Sanders and 211 versus Deontay, or however you want to flip them if you think Deontay's worth more than Sanders. That's the bulk of the deal for me here. So I'm kind of curious your thoughts on this deal, being that it's a 5 for 3 in lineup start 11.
The 201 or Miles Sanders, I guess it's like what, A-Chain, Kendre Miller, Zach Charbonnet, if I just wanted to be comparable.
Yeah. A-Chain's typically gone, but like definitely you could get Kendre a lot of times. And
right.
Sometimes
one of those running backs or Miles Sanders, value-wise, like I'm going to take the rookie, but on a contender, I mean, it ain't crazy to say that Miles Sanders is, because something I talked about earlier, that offense just has such a lack of weapons. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
He's almost just got to be force-fed the ball at some point because the receivers are god-awful. Yeah, I think it's close. I'd probably still side with the 201. But you look at the other part, as much as, Adam, you're not on Deontay anymore, or you don't like him, like I still think Deontay Johnson's a really good football player, still a really good wide receiver. Now he's come down some for me, but there's no question over the rest of the junk, like the 211, the 311, the 411, Wan'Dale Robinson, and the start 9, which, sorry to say it, folks, junk, because you're probably never starting this dude in a start 9 ever. If you got to start Wan'Dale Robinson in a start 9, your team's horrible.
Right. You're hopefully actively tanking.
I would hope so. I'll take Deontay all day over the rest of that, right? The 211's like Hendon Hooker in ADP, right? Look at South Harmon ADP. That's where it had start 9. Or Jaden Reed, Tajay Spears, Jalen Hyatt. I'm good, man.
Yeah.
Just give me Deontay. I don't even care what the other ones are. They don't matter. They really don't matter. And he got a 25 third for liquidity's sakes in the future. So,
yep.
Great deal, man.
I agree. I think, when you start to look at it and break it down, like Deontay in lineup start 9, honestly is not someone I want to start. But to your point, it's like I'm not like out on him. Like I have him on lineup start 9, so I'm fine with him as my wide receiver 4 or 5 type. And there's going to be bye weeks we need to start him. There's going to be injuries that might happen. You may need to start him. Let's say he has some decent games. Let's say Pickett picks it up a little bit. Deontay had some weeks down the stretch last year, which looked a lot better than it did in the early first 12, 13 weeks, whatever it was. Let's say he's clicking a little bit. Let's say he's starting to earn more target share. He's starting to look a little more, maybe not wide receiver 8 version, but better than he was last year, more like the 2021 Deontay. Maybe you can flip him. You know what you're going to have a hard time doing early in the year is probably flipping to 11-3, 11-4, 11 for anything. So on a consolidation move, I'm totally in on what Grant is doing. Miles Sanders, Deontay, and the third for me here. Just because the 201 is the one piece here that I do have a hard time trading away, but the rest of it I'm so comfortable moving off of a lineup start 9. So I do want his side. I do.
Right. You just made the deal. If it was the 201 for Miles Sanders, I'd be like,
nah, not right now. I could maybe make that to you later. Yeah. Right. But not right now. Right.
But if you take that part away and you go, hey, right now, would you trade for Deontay Johnson for this junk, this junk, this junk, and this junk piece? I'm like, yeah, in a start 9, I'm good. Maybe not in a best ball. You know what I mean? Because I can talk myself into what Jaden Reed might have a couple weeks, or
sure.
Whoever the hell Luke Schoonmaker's the 311. Maybe he has a couple weeks his rookie year. Maybe Wandale, he might have 1 or 2 weeks. But in a lineup start 9, I'm like, there's never a scenario where I'm going to push the button on these guys and feel good. And if I do, my team's junk. I'm screwed. I'm horrible. So
absolutely, yeah, I'm with you. I think the Deontay part of it makes it for me, because if someone sent 211, 311, 411, Wandale Robinson for Deontay, they were wanting those pieces off my team in lineup start 9. Take them. Take the trash and go have good fun with it. I'll take the devalue Deontay Johnson and hope to move him in a piece later, even if I had to, worst case scenario. Thought there was some interesting deals there, Mike. A lot of lineup trades, but I thought another good trade show. Anything you want to talk about here before we get out of here on our another midweek Wednesday episode of the trade show?
I appreciate everybody tapping in. We've been doing these doubles, trying to, as schedule works out, but we'll get another double in here. I really enjoy doing these trade shows, and we try to pick up the pace a little bit, but I am long-winded, even though I do have a cold, so maybe you guys are getting lucky because I can't be as long-winded as I want. But go check out the website, southharmonff.com. The support we've gotten so far has been incredible. When I talk about ADP, I can just go right there. That part's free, man. Free tools. Just click on it, look at ADP, and I can sort it however I want. Multiple options. Shout out to our partner Koopa for getting the website up and going. Shout out to you, Adam, for all the work that you guys have done. And it's been incredible. I thought this was a good trade show. Really good trade show. We can't put Alvin Kamara on the thumbnail because no one cares, but Garrett Wilson did make 2 trades on here, so maybe you make the thumbnail Garrett Wilson.
I was just going to say Garrett Wilson will be the thumbnail that you guys are seeing here on your Wednesday. Another great trade show. If you do want your deals featured on the show, patreon.com/South Harmon. Like Mike mentioned, make sure you go check out the website, southharmonff.com. Koopa has an incredible warp tool out there. If you're not interested in that, there's all kinds of free stuff and also some merch you could take a look at. Otherwise,
baby.
Yeah, man, go get a shirt, get a new shirt, get a hoodie, get something for yourself. Splurge a little bit. But otherwise, we will see you back here, same time, same place next week for the Dynasty Trade Show. We're out of this thing. Peace.